Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
Most of us have heard the word breach so many times it almost doesn't register anymore. But the 2026 Verizon DBIR just dropped, and buried in 100+ pages of data is something every business leader should know about.
All right, and today we're getting to the point of digging into the highlights here. We're certainly not going to cover all 117 pages of this, but hopefully we can get to the point and cover the highlights and what do businesses need to understand and what can they take away from this that's actually actionable. So excited to get into that. And this is Get to the Point. Welcome to Get to the Point podcast, the podcast where we dig into the why behind the tech that's all around us. We talk to real IT people about real IT stuff, and we try and make it a little bit more human.
We do.
I'm Andy Middlemas.
I'm Brandi Mentley, and joining us today is Dean Sheley, Senior Security Architect and Consultant at High Point Networks. Dean brings nearly 30 years of cybersecurity experience across global financial institutions, higher education, and SMB sectors. He's a CISSP, holds a master's in information security and assurance from Dakota State University, and previously served as CISO for the South Dakota Board of Regents, overseeing cybersecurity across 6 South Dakota public universities. Welcome, Dean. Tell me something good, sir.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's just a beautiful day. Great to be here with beautiful people, and thanks for having me.
Great. Dean, you and I have been, I think I went back maybe 5 or 6 years that you and I have been, whatever you want to call, unpacking this report.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to expose myself a little bit here. I'm going to tell you a little secret.
Okay.
In all of that time, I've put all the weight on you to read this report and come out with the knowledge. Why? Because you're the expert, and I'm like, he's going to do a good job. But this year, and I printed it, by the way.
Yes.
I did kill a lot of trees with this, but I printed this baby, 120 pages.
Beautiful.
And for someone who's non-technical, like me, again, I work for a technology company, I know enough, this was an actual easy read.
Right.
So I highlighted a lot of sections, and we're going to kind of dig into this today, but I really got a lot out of it. It was so much fun. The humor in it, the data in it, they give you literally a pathway to read this in a manner that is so digestible for even someone like me who is not technical. And so I'm excited to talk about this today because I actually read it. And so I think I'll, maybe have a little bit more to offer other than just, hey, Dean, take it away. And so I'm excited about that. But tell us a little bit about this report, kind of what it's meant to you and why it matters, why people should actually be reading this.
Yeah, absolutely. And number one, thank you for reading that. We have a little kind of pregame talk before we start shooting, and it was a beautiful discussion. Brandi was talking about reading through the report and some of the things that she got out of it, and it was just proof. I just want to substantiate what you said, that you were able to read through it and really get out of it some of the key factors that can make a significant difference for organizations reducing their risk. And very proud that you can. And it's just going to amplify our discussion, because I think in the next 15 minutes or so, you and I are going to be able to chat back and forth, almost in a way as if you were a customer that High Point Networks was helping out, that need a path forward in their security journey, maybe a way to approach continuing maturity and improvement, prioritization, and so forth. And I know that's absolutely going to be brought up. But just in short here, really quick, the DBIR, I think it's in its 19th season. It's done by Verizon. When we think of Verizon, we think of the cell phone people, but this is a completely different division of Verizon. I always say it's kind of like General Electric, where they make microwaves, but they also make jet engines and turbines and stuff like that. So this is not the cell phone part of the company. What they've been doing for the last 19 years is they'll look at tens of thousands of breaches That's when data's been affected in any type of a compromise. And incidents, that's when data has not been compromised or exfiltrated. And they look at all of those different instances over a number of different verticals in a very statistical way. It's not market driven. There's no pressure from this company or that company, and they really lay it out there as if a medical research or any type of other statistical evaluation of something was done. And they break down the data nicely for us. They put it in a report, and we take a look at it. And then from that, as we approach information security as risk management, it helps us understand what our greatest risks are globally, but then also in individual business sectors, whether that be manufacturing or medical or agriculture or whatever it may be. And then that helps us kind of understand how we want to prioritize controlling that risk, how we want to control it, and the type of resources financially or whatever that may be to controlling those risks. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what the DBIR is.
Yeah, I love that. And before Andy's going to kind of take us in to the details here, but I highlighted something that I read earlier that I really want to read to people here.
Yeah.
This is pretty much the bulk of what I got out of this report. Now, granted, there's so much more that I got out of this report, but something that they said in the very beginning really hit me.
Yeah.
And it says that the threat landscape will keep evolving, but the fundamentals still matter most. I want that to sink in a little bit. Organizations that stay grounded in strong cybersecurity basics, clear visibility into assets and third parties, disciplined patch management, and well-practiced response plans, along with a culture that supports and enables secure behavior, are better positioned to handle today's realities and whatever comes next. So
Yes.
I want to set the stage for what we're going to talk about today, because we are going to talk about some fundamentals. We're going to get into just some of the key, again, we won't read the entire report, but that really struck me. I mean, I highlighted it.
Yes.
And there's so many things in here that I highlighted, but that right there was like, wow, that really hit home for me, especially
Yes.
being non-technical. Like, wow, all right, let's get back to the basics. And so, Mr. Middlemiss, will you kick us off here and let's start talking about some of the things that people need to know regarding this report?
I will, and that little paragraph just really sets the foundation nicely for really I think the rest of the conversation.
Yes.
And for, again, it's kind of an overwhelming amount of data.
Yeah.
But again, super, super well written. I was hesitant to read it because I couldn't find the time to take a nap that long, frankly. But when I got into it, it's just so well written, and they're very clever,
Yes.
and it keeps you engaged. And there's some great information there. But that paragraph, I think, just really sums up kind of the key points that we really want to dig into today.
Yes, sir.
So the first one is also kind of the leading stat as far as what's kind of taken. I think it was new this year that vulnerability exploitations is now the number one
Yes, sir.
threat across the whole report. My assumption that is about patch management primarily. I'm sure there's other factors there as well.
Yes, sir.
But patching is really kind of the front line, and it feels like organizations are really having a hard time keeping up and losing ground. I want to dig into that a little bit. But some stats that I grabbed from this: the average remediation has increased quite a bit, up to 43 days now. And this one to me is a little bit shocking.
Okay.
That 26%, so a quarter of all critical vulnerabilities, known, I assume, vulnerabilities, were never completely remediated in 2025. So can you just talk about those a little bit, and why are we struggling so much?
That's a great question. As we were talking in our little pre-game here, well, there's so much that in that, Andy. Okay, let's take it from this approach. There's 19 seasons of the Verizon DBIR. Again, a ton of data, It's not market driven. This is just what exists out in the environment. It's a very important report. It'll drive the narrative now for a year. For a year now, you're going to hear patch, vulnerability. Okay, that's going to be the narrative for 2026 going into 2027. But the big three have always been, in any particular order, patch management, social engineering, and credentials. For 19 years, it's been kind of a mix of those three. Like Andy said, this is the first year where statistically, let's call it flaws on software, vulnerabilities, software not patched, and so forth, is giving people, the bad actors, the greatest probability of an initial foothold into an environment. And as Andy mentioned, a huge number of those vulnerabilities are known. They've been out there for a while. In other words, they're not 0 days, yet they're still not patched. And the question is why? And I kind of have an answer for that, but even before that, just give me a minute to touch on that, because I think you're going to have all kinds of amazing guests. You've had Jim Edmonds, Scott Rakonen. I think Dr. Ashley's coming on board here pretty soon and whatnot. And something that I learned from Dr. Ashley while I was a student of hers in cyber ethics, and also if you look at what Jen Esterly at DHS CISSA talked about, especially back in 2023, which I completely agree with, is that especially Jen Esterly was driving the notion that we as customers and we as those that sell IT services and so forth must demand higher quality software that's written by the manufacturer. You know, it's at what point in time are we going to say enough is enough? We need our software to work. Okay, we're human. Mistakes are going to be made in development and so forth. But we're patching constantly, and we're patching everything from software to what we would call hardware devices, to our vehicles, to our phones, and especially in the day of these large language models and their ability to look through code, which is, you know, typically English and based on these mathematical axioms and so forth. In my opinion, and I'm not a developer, the days of writing sloppy code should be over now. Okay? So it'll be interesting to watch the DBIR, you know, 24/7 and stuff come down to see if the rate of this patch management and so forth goes down. Okay, why aren't people patching? The people that I talk to day in and day out, hundreds of people, you know, a year, fantastic people, beautiful people, intelligent people. They really, really care about what they do. But they're just so overwhelmed and wearing so many different hats that maybe patch management slips to kind of the bottom of the priority list. It's kind of like, oh, we'll get around to it when we can. That's kind of what my gut tells me. And just really quick, Andy, I am aware of organizations, I'm very close to one of them, that has 80,000 endpoints. And they patch diligently, day in and day out. I've seen their reports. I kind of used to be associated with that organization in a past career. But they have 2 people that are dedicated just to patching. But they're able to, you know, 80,000 endpoints and how many devices. It can be done, but it's really, I think, a logistical kind of human, you know, we have so many other things to do that maybe it just falls to the bottom of the list.
Yeah, so just I mean, we all suffer from capacity
absolutely
sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
So I can see it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and that's why these outsourcing of services and stuff are so important, you know, because maybe if you don't have people that you can dedicate to patch management, sure, maybe there's ways that organizations can help you out with that.
Sure.
You know, it occurs to me that there's another sort of, you know, subset of all of the companies out there that have another struggle with patching, which is, you've got to take systems down
Absolutely.
to patch things. And not everybody can just do that at a whim.
Thank you for bringing that
Not
up.
everybody can do that even on a schedule.
Yes, sir.
You take your mission critical environments, your hospitals, your financial institutions. It's really hard
Absolutely.
to find just a time to do it.
Absolutely.
And get everything arranged in order to do that. So talk just a little bit about that. And I mean, how do they deal with that? And Brandi and I were chatting last week. I came from the service provider industry from way back, and they have, in some of their systems, they have this concept of in-service upgrades.
Yes. And containerization has given us a lot of that capability.
Are we making progress there for those critical environments? What's the path look like?
And that's right. Containerization, the modularization. Boy, that was a mouthful.
Say it again. That was fun.
Where's my Monster Energy drink? It's 8:30 in the morning, folks. Give me a little bit. But anyway, the making software more modular, where you can, shim out a piece that needs to be updated, fixed, tweaked, and shim that back in, while still have it operating as one way to do it. Having worked in the financial sector, it's like, why have one mainframe when you can have two? You know what I mean? And we'll take this one down, and this one will take over. Operate. It's a HA pair, active, passive, or whatever. That's one way you can patch. But what does that do, Andy? That doubles the cost of your hardware expenditure, or whatever. I mean, so it comes down to an expense thing. Again, I'm always trying to contextualize the whole conversation of information security in terms of risk management. Okay, so you got to look at, what is the risk of not patching this thing? Okay, maybe I have to patch it. Maybe I have to bring a machine down. Maybe as a result of that, I have a green zone or a window that people expect, patches to happen or a service to be offline for a couple hours or so. And the business, depending on what it is, maybe you just have to bring that system down for an hour or two while you patch. Okay, that can't bring a credit card system down. You can't bring a medical, device or whatever system down. So there's different ways to skin a cat depending on what your scenario is. But just let me leave you with this, Andy. In terms of risk management, I think now we have entered a time where, in addition to what you said, Andy, is that if I patch something, is it going to break something? And from a political standpoint, is that then going to make all my employees mad, and the board and the C-suite and stuff like that? If I patch something and it breaks something, and the answer to that is there a probability? Is there a probability of that? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. If I don't patch it, then what's the risk?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you kind of have to, balance that out. And my knee-jerk reaction today is if it's a critical risk, patch that thing, patch it fast. And what I mean by fast is, 24 hours, 36 hours. I wouldn't even go 2 days. If it's critical, if it's 0 day, patch it. Might it break something? Are you going to make some people mad? Yeah, but they're going to thank you when you don't get hacked. I mean, sorry for the aggressive, blatant language there. But then if it's a high, if it's a medium and a low, then maybe you can take a little bit more time. CISSA has a known vulnerability database out there online that you can Google. That'll tell you what flaws are out there and what are actively have active exploits out there and breaches happening and so forth. You take a look at that. You need to be able to patch those things like yesterday, and you need a software solution to help you do all of this. It's just impossible to do it manually.
Yeah, very good. So, matter of prioritizing.
Yes, sir.
Is it realistic or even necessary to patch everything? You mentioned the organization that has dedicated a lot of diligence. Do they patch everything?
Again, I'll keep this in real terms, right? Because
Sure.
we're all here about being brutally honest and so forth. Will everything always be patched? Absolutely not. Is the goal to do it that way? Of course. But that critical stuff, the high stuff, the 0-day stuff, that has to be done. And if we have a CISO or any types of those people, CIO listening, to the podcast today, please, you need to see reports maybe twice a month, maybe once a month, as to what vulnerabilities are in your environment, what are critical high and so forth, and what's been patched and what hasn't. And, in a very compassionate, sympathetic way, you really need to be on whoever is responsible for that stuff to make sure that it is being done. And that's one of those fundamentals, that need to be done day in and day out as perfectly as possible, like sleeping well, like hydrating well, like eating well, like exercising well. That is an absolute fundamental, because if you have flawed software out there, it's going to, like having a bad night's sleep or whatnot. If you have flawed software in your environment, is just going to trickle down and just affect so many other things in a domino effect way inside organizations.
Just kind of become a part of a lifestyle, basically, to stay up with things.
Absolutely.
So prioritize. There are resources, DBIR, CISSO, with their vulnerability stuff. So use those resources, make a priority list, get the critical ones done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Before we transition into this next section, which can you quickly, so it strikes me odd that we have not developed something that can automatically patch systems, like some sort of service that can patch systems. You talked a little bit about, and again, not a sales pitch by any means, but like, are there resources available to offload that part of your organization to help you focus on other things? Can you quickly cover that before we transition into, does it exist?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a few tools that I would say are kind of enterprise grade, that you could really put them in place and sleep well at night. HighPoint can obviously help you out with those. There's kind of a couple different ways to skin a cat, but definitely, the software is a piece of that, the proper configuration of it, the monitoring, the reporting, the conversation prioritization, the green zones for patching and best practices and so forth. It can absolutely be done. Has it been prioritized throughout the industry in the past? Probably not. Will it be prioritized now as a result of this report and all of the marketing that's going to come out in 2026? Absolutely. But yes, the short answer is yes.
I just wanted to, I'm like, I feel like we're a little more advanced. There should be something. But okay, so something caught my eye in here about ransomware. And we're not a stranger to ransomware, right? But it said that ransomware had gone up, but payments had gone down. And I want to read a little excerpt here. And it said ransomware grew again, 48% of all breaches, up from 44%. Not a big jump, but enough from the previous year. So it says, however, ransomware payments have continued to decline amongst the data set, as 69% of ransomware victims didn't pay. And then they kind of go into like what the median, I think it was like 139,000 versus 150 from the prior year. So can you talk, again, that kind of leads us into our next section. Why do you think that is?
I think the super interesting thing, if you can, read between the math there, is what was that? 69% didn't pay?
Didn't pay.
Right. So how many do pay? 30%. It used to be more like 40% of people pay. So a lot of people ask, do people ever pay their ransom? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, that's a business decision, a risk management decision. Do we want our business back online now? So then do we risk paying the ransom? And again, you're going to hear stuff here that you've never heard before. And yeah, people absolutely pay the ransom. Do they get access to their data back? I'd say most of the time, absolutely. But yeah, more and more people are not paying the ransom. Requests are going down. I think there's a couple reasons there. Usually when ransomware happens, a ransomware negotiator will get involved from an insurance company usually, or forensics incident response team. And they're very good at talking the bad actor down from, whatever the initial number is. We're going to talk it down 20%, okay, 30%, so they're going to talk that down. I think the other reason of people just flat out not paying it at all is that organizations, I think especially over the last 3 years, have gotten more resilient, or maybe that's the right word, robust, capable of being able to recover their environments quickly. So having proper backup in place, immutable storage has been absolutely key. I know this isn't supposed to be a salesy thing, but the endpoint solution that we provide has kind of a special capability to have an immutable snapshot, if you will, on the endpoint itself, so that if it gets ransomed, you can kind of click a button and that machine will come back like that. So if you have the proper back office components in place to bring your virtualization environment back, and then also kind of the proper software and configuration and so forth on the endpoint, you can bring those back very rapidly as well. So if you have those in place, the realistic ability to bring an environment back from a significant ransomware incident, it can happen quite rapidly, and perhaps that's why people aren't paying their ransom.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that word, immutable.
Yeah.
It's right. like Brandi's love for Coco, my cat. It's immutable.
It's just,
You're
right?
not even using that in the right context.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Right. He's not using it.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he?
Okay, well, I'll
Maybe
go
you are.
study up. Maybe I
Okay.
am. Okay, all right. So, let's switch topics once again. Brandi loves Coco.
Sorry to
by the
everyone
way.
who loves cats. There's nothing wrong with cats. Just do not put that narrative out there, okay?
Thank you. So you hear anytime you talk to somebody about protecting your cyberspace,
Yeah.
there's this concept of reducing the attack surface.
Exactly.
Give them something less to target.
Yeah.
Right, for the bad actors. At the same time, companies are moving more and more things to third parties, to the cloud. Aren't we simultaneously increasing our attack surface by doing that? And so I want to dig into that just a little bit. And again, it's the statistics are very similar in that third party space, the cloud providers, whatever. So, like almost a quarter of their known vulnerabilities never really get fully remediated.
Yes.
Huge increase in the attack vectors in that third-party space, a 60%, I think, year-over-year increase there. And again, almost half of the breaches have some element of third-party involvement somewhere within the attack. It's fascinating to me because it feels like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth here.
No, I know. Yeah, absolutely. Again, a former employer, financial institute. We had a third-party risk management program where we as an organization, not only did we provide services, but we received services from third parties. And we had agreements with them to actually physically go out and audit their environments because we wanted to make sure that their security operations were sound before we would partner with them. And a lot of this happens on a contractual level. Okay, hey, I'm going to contract you to provide a service for me. And, as a customer, you can absolutely mandate, negotiate, whatever it may be, proof of that service provider having their information security program, risk management program to a level that it needs to be. And there's standard ways to do that. SOC is probably the most popular way of doing it. SOC 1, SOC 2, SIG, and so forth. You can go out there and maybe do a little bit of auditing on your own if you have, folks that have the ability to do that. But yeah, ironically, we talk about patch management. A big thing for me, again, is identity. A lot of times we allow third-party consultants into our environments in order to do work. And, best practices is that access should only be allowed just in time, only for a certain amount of time, and that consultant should only have access to whatever he or she needs during that engagement. Maybe it's a 3, 4, 5 hour thing, maybe it's a 2-day thing. But then once that engagement is done, that access should be taken away, in my opinion. So that comes down to identity, authentication, authorization, just in time, only for a certain amount of time, only when you need it. Basically, that consultant that's coming into your environment should abide by these same standards that like your own internal employees have. And believe it or not, just an example, you may outsource a service to a service provider, and then you may change a few years down the road, but you still might maintain those accounts from that former service provider within your identity environment. Remote access might be left open, this, that, or the other thing. So yeah, that's definitely an aspect worth thinking about. And as we've heard our leadership, our not only addition to you guys, but our CEOs and so forth, that is the major factor on their mind is how do we keep high point networks secure in order to keep any downstream, and upstream too, activity that we do contained in such a way that we never become a risk in that equation.
And every company should wake up every morning with that thought in mind, right? How do we protect ourselves and the people that are connected with us, companies that are connected
Absolutely.
with us?
Absolutely.
So I'm curious about because this 60% increase in threats in this space is a big number. Mm-hmm. Is that just a function of this growth with people moving services and moving software out, or is there something else at play there? What's causing this big surge in that particular threat landscape?
I think you're right, Andy. I think organizations are outsourcing services to people like ourselves, whether it be security services, professional services, whatever it may be, just because, IT, human resources, it's hard to find people, they're expensive and so forth and so on. So I think that's a big part of it as well. Just the, what do I want to say? The philosophy of IT, of so many things becoming as a service as opposed to doing it yourself, right? Email, for example, pretty soon you're not even going to be able to buy Exchange Server on-prem any longer. I speak to a lot of companies that have ERP, CRM systems, whether that be, financial, higher ed, medical, or whatnot. Like you're not running Epic on-prem anymore. You're going to run Epic in the cloud. You're not going to run Jack Henry or whatever, AS400 on-prem anymore. You're going to run it in the cloud as a service. So I think you hit the nail on the head there, Andy, is that so many things are becoming as a service.
Before we transition into another topic here, but what can companies do considering this whole expansion of this, third-party involvement in our environments? Mm-hmm. What should companies be thinking about or preparing for just to address that and take care?
Yeah, like what do you mean address it or take care? Can you tell me more?
Yeah, what should you consider if you're considering, hey, I'm going to take all of my stuff and I'm going to move it out into the cloud or out into a service provider, out into a third party?
Yeah.
What should you do along with just making that decision to protect yourself?
Yeah, kind of let me go down a path and then interrupt me and let me know if I'm going the wrong direction or so. When it comes to security, your biggest point of leverage in deciding on a service or contracting a service is this really goes into the legal realm. Your protection is going to be whatever is said on your piece of paper. This is where the grounds are set as to who's responsible for what the boundaries are, if things were to occur, what happens at that point. It gets into, liability, indemnification, so forth and so on. Another interesting one that I saw real world with a customer of ours is that they had a bunch of data, let's just say over here in this cloud repository, and they really needed that data to feed another service in somebody else's cloud, and there was a steep transaction fee to move it out of one cloud or one service into the other. So, not only the network bandwidth, I mean, we traditionally paid for that, in these services as well, but now people really want to make things sticky. Is that kind of the sales term or whatever, whether it's a car salesperson or
sure.
whatever, they want to make some. So the way they make it sticky is that once you have your stuff, your data, your applications or whatever in a certain cloud or a certain service or whatnot, this gets down to an ethics thing. They sometimes want to make it difficult for you to get out of that and into something else. And I'm proud to say, especially our SMART team, our professional services team, is very aware as we evaluate and choose people that we partner with, whether it be email security, endpoint, SOC, whatnot, firewall. We are very cognizant not to pick sticky solutions because we want our customers to have the flexibility to change as the industry evolves. And then for selfish reasons at High Point Networks, we want to be able to pivot to, the latest and greatest technologies, especially where it adds the most value and bang. We want to have the freedom to do that. And if we are in a sticky situation with our partners, that hinders our ability to be flexible or nimble. So we're very cognizant about that. That's a great question.
Makes a lot of sense. So be thoughtful, be thorough, read the fine print.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, like IT and legal should be like this. Because if information security is risk management, then and you bring into regulatory compliance and all that other stuff. And anyway, sorry.
I want our listeners to hang on. I know we're going over time. We've got a couple more points that I want us to drive home. So thank you for staying with us. And if you could just stay with us just a little bit longer, this episode's going to be maybe just a little bit longer than normal. But as we kind of wrap up kind of into our last topic, I don't think we've had an episode yet where we haven't talked about AI. And obviously,
not yet. And not this one either.
I don't think we have, and we're not going to make any exceptions here. But
producer Alex, this could be its own 1 hour talk. So.
I think it's interesting because as much as we're using AI as users and we're finding it very convenient for our work lives, well, the hackers are also doing the same thing. And so can you just touch on, how do we fight this? I mean, what tactics are we supposed to use if they're using AI and are we using it against each other? Like, tell me a little bit about that as we kind of drive the episode kind of home here.
You have to fight AI with AI. There's no other way, period, full stop. Okay? Like, seriously. And here's what's going on in real time. And a lot of people don't know about this, but I think in the beginning of April, the Anthropic folks came out with a large language model called Mythos. And I think the primary reason of that, and circle back to the beginning of our conversation, was to look through code and to find vulnerabilities so that, that those could be fixed and patched and whatnot. And, here we are and we're off into this new era where we don't have to patch enough. Okay, so they build this large language model in-house, and especially software that they can see the source code of. They let this large language model just tear loose through software. And There's only been, I've been doing this for like 30 years, in security specifically for probably 20. There's only been a few times in my career where I've sat back and went, this is one of those. Mythos, okay. The most secured operating system probably ever developed, and I think most of the audience would agree with this, is Berkeley BSD, the Berkeley System Distribution of Unix. Has been bulletproof for like 25 years. Mythos found a 25-year-old vulnerability in BSD that's active today. Okay, it found tens of thousands of other 0 days out there that are active today that just haven't been
exploited,
haven't been disclosed.
Okay,
right? Because the government and everybody is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So what Anthropic has done is they've invited, let's call it the big dogs like Oracle and IBM and Microsoft, and I'm sure Palo Alto and, some of these others, SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, whoever, kind of the big players in the tech space to have, and, Eli Lilly and Citi, and you get the point, the government, access to Mythos to get ahead of this before Mythos is intentionally released or accidentally released, or maybe DeepSeek or somebody else invents their own model with the same type of capability, to get out there ahead of time to start patching things. And when I used to sit on the customer side of the camera, one thing that I absolutely hated was going to a conference and listening to a seminar that was fear-based. Oh. Absolutely hated it. But what I need to bring forth is just, especially, Q3, Q4, 2026, Q1, 2027, we're going to see an onslaught of 0 days as a result of these LLMs finding exploits in software like nothing we've ever seen before. So how do we fight that? Again, very proud of our managed services, our SMART team, that we're very intentional that our patch management platform are plugging into these LLMs. Mimecast, our email platform, is now plugging into Anthropic. SentinelOne, I think, is plugging in or is going to plug into Anthropic as well. Who's the creator of Mythos, right? So these services, if they are plugging into what's kind of taking shape, and I know we're running long, I'm sorry, folks, is that there's going to be this abstraction layer in the security world that are run by these large language models, right? And that could come from Anthropic, it could come from Palantir, who's, largely military based. But your email security is going to plug into that, your firewall is going to plug into that, your endpoint and patch management is going to plug into a singular or maybe multiple, but an abstraction layer of AI. And everybody's going to have that. And that's largely going to be how we fight AI with AI. And again, I know this isn't a salesy thing, but I'm just very proud of our smart services team to have the forethought to ensure that the products that we offer are already plugging into these LLMs. And this is just happening. Like the Mimecast thing, I think was just released like 2 weeks ago. You know how they're plugging into the Anthropic backend. Yeah. So
nice.
Very cool.
So yeah.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do that.
But I'm going to wrap it up with a call to action.
Okay.
For the audience. The call to action is you can go download the DBIR for free.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a little bit overwhelming, but again, it's actually a fairly easy read because of the way it's very well written. But there's a section for industry. And if nothing else, go find your particular industry in there and read through the recommendations. What are they finding as the biggest threat vectors? Mm-hmm. What are they finding as the biggest types of attacks for your particular industry? And that's maybe a way to start
Yes.
prioritizing and go deal with those things first.
Page 80 and 81, if you
Page
would like
80
to. I
and
mean, there's a little
81.
bit, there's
Thank you
some
very much.
information more, but that's kind of the overview. I just wanted to find it for people,
Yes,
so
thank
it'd
you
be
very
very
much for
easy for
doing
them
that.
to do it. Dean, thank you for being here. Thank
Yeah.
you for being just my co-partner in unpacking this for so many years.
it's
I genuinely
beautiful,
appreciate
yeah.
your insight and your time, and I know other people do too. Again, folks, I know we went long. Thank you to everyone listening for hanging in there with us. Promise you this report is worth it. And speaking from the heart here, from someone who's very non-technical, it was very easy for me to read. And if it's easy for me to read, I guarantee you can read it too. And if business owners, again, people who don't even, again, if you're not even in IT, I would highly encourage you to download it and just kind of read through it. Even if you just don't get past the introduction, there's some really, really good takeaways there. Dean, thank you for being here. Andy, as always, thank you. For everyone out there, if you want to hear more from Get to the Point, please hit that subscribe button. Follow us on social media, hit our website. You want to hear something, let us know. We'd love to interact with you. We'd love to learn about what challenges you are facing. Take us home.
And thanks for joining us for this bonus episode
There you go.
of Get to the Point around DBIR. And remember, we're always here to help you get to the point. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us.